Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to NFL Fan Pub video number 4 in the Fantasy Football series, and this video is all about sleepers in the NFL game. Now, I need to take you on a little journey, a little story if I may, so please indulge me when I go into this story. And it's really about what it was like back in the early days, because this all makes sense about what sleepers are to me personally. When it first started for me, my interest in American football quickly developed into fantasy American football. I loved it, loved following the players. But back in the day, you're very difficult to get access to anything. I mean, we used to listen to Armed Forces Network and Teletext and CFAX, for God's sake. In the early days of computers, it was not the plethora of stuff that now exists that you can access as an armchair NFL fan. I mean, now it's unlimited. And why I'm taking you on this journey is simply this, is because you see, what's happened is because now everybody can easily access hundreds of sites, find out about experts' opinions on what constitutes this particular sleeper idea that they've got. Everybody knows this. So by the time you come to the draft, if 30 or 40 experts haven't talked about the same sleeper, I'm a liar. And they have, of course. And everybody knows it. If you're sitting in, like I did in my 16 player live draft last year, I was pretty confident that most people in there would have some idea of what would be considered reasonable sleeper picks. But that was because, of course, they were all modelled off what the experts said. Now, I'm a great believer, and I say this all the time, I don't trust the expert picks for a number of reasons. I'd rather go with my own gut feeling. And what I'm going to share with you in this video is very simple. Now that we've taken that little journey, is this. For me, that yes, of course, what they're saying, they're sleepers. But they're not really deep sleepers. They're the sort of information that most of the other coaches in the league are going to be armed with. You've got to go in there with something more. Because there is no harm for your final pick of your draft having what I call a great deep sleeper. The sort of player that no one else is going to think about taking. And there are a couple of reasons for this. The first one is that it buys you a little bit of logical space on your bench. Because just in case you need to remove a player that's not performing, it's probably quite likely that the deep sleeper in the early few weeks hasn't made his way onto the roster. So, you might be prepared to give him up to make room. And why not have one on there rather than all the bench players you like and you've got to get rid of someone anyway because you've got a problem and can't fill it. So there is a need sometimes to have that deep sleeper. But more importantly, why the deep sleeper is a great idea is simply because you can take a shot on a player and give them a little bit of time. And hope that they develop into something that other people haven't seen. And then you really are sitting on a goldmine resource. So let me give you some examples of traditional sleeper, at least a traditional sleeper for this year. And then give you an example of a deeper sleeper for this year. So you can get a vision for the two. So a traditional sleeper that a lot of experts will talk about would be something like the Tennessee Titans situation this year in 2015. Obviously, Bishop Sankey is the lead running back, theoretically, on the depth chart. And right behind him, because of the draft that they've had, is a guy called David Cobb. Most experts are going to be telling you, pick David Cobb because Bishop Sankey's career average of 3.1 yards is just not good enough. And if it doesn't translate from the college game, and it should translate from the college game into the NFL, it's one of the best transitional roles as running back, but it hasn't worked. And there is some truth to that. There's no doubt there's some truth to this. But, everybody will be talking about this, so the truth is, this isn't really a great sleeper pick. And also, let's put our head in the game here a little bit and just think for a moment, hold on, we're talking about Tennessee. They're in transition here. It's a bit like watching the Rams. Can you really blame Bishop Sankey for his poor yards per carry? I'm sure there is some truth about it. A lot of dancing in the backfield from the tape I watched. That he needed a bit more quick decision-making and hit those holes harder. There was just far too much dancing about. But let's assume that, let's assume the experts are right and get it right, and David Cobb's the man. Is that going to happen? About that, it's got a call there. It was, of course, being offered a job for Sky TV's NFL. I turned it down, of course. No, but in all seriousness, to be honest, yeah, we're talking about sleepers and David Cobb, and that is what an expert will pick. But everybody will know this in your draft board. To me, that isn't really a sleeper. It's hardly a sleeper, is it? And is it really going to do any good even if you pick it? I think you have to have the right strategy for that to be of any real use, to be honest. So what I want you to think about is deeper sleepers. I'm going to give you an example of a deeper sleeper. We're going to take another running back situation for this year. I'm going to talk about Dallas's running back situation. Let's look at what the experts are telling you, and let's look at some logic behind it, and then let's look at some deeper sleepers that could work their way onto the starting lineup. So if we take Dallas, the obvious situation is Darren McFadden is going to be the lead running back per the depth chart. I'll leave that out there for a second to sink in. Darren McFadden. Have you ever been burnt by Darren McFadden in your fantasy games? I have. I'll never forgive him for the disasters he's caused me. Do I trust him even behind probably one of the best offensive lines I've seen? He has the potential, but I was fooled once. I will not be fooled again. So, of course, all the experts are saying, well, you see, Joseph Randall, 6.7 yards per carry average. This is your man. That's the guy. But the truth is, he only had 50 carries. And it was after the defences were worn out a lot of the time. So it's an incredibly false statistic to look at because, let's be honest, Dallas wouldn't need to draft, wouldn't need to hire in Darren McFadden if they felt they had a stud running back on the draft board behind DeMarco Murray. They just make it clear straight away, surely. So it doesn't all add up. So let's look beyond those two at the next couple of guys. You've got Lance Dunbar and then Ryan Williams. Now, Ryan Williams really interests me. He's the player that no one's going to talk about who they drafted. I'd take a flyer on him, personally. I think that's a great pickup, particularly if you've already got 3 very good running backs on your draft board and you're thinking about some sort of deep shot lottery pick. What a great pick. Even Lance Dunbar is a good pick because they may end up working their way into the starting lineup. And if you were sitting there with them and 4 or 5 weeks in they started, that's a genius move. So that's a real sleeper for me. Something the experts are going to look at. What I would advise you do is think about, put your head in the game, take your heart out of it, think about the team that, the need of a team. Think about if it's a good team. One of the keys is it a good team? What sort of players are likely to follow in? And what is the best situation for me? And then you can have a fantastic draft with some really logical, well thought through shots at some of the real great lottery picks. And if they come off, you're laughing. And one of the best lottery picks from last year, which, funny enough, we did talk about, those that were near me round the table last year would know this. We mentioned CJ Anderson. And he turned out to be an absolute starter. I just wish I'd followed through on my gut feeling about this guy quicker. But I didn't, and you pay the price, of course. It would have been a really, really great pickup to have. But anyway, this has been NFL Fan Pub number 4, talking all about sleepers, and particularly deep sleepers, and really what the definition of them are. I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you too soon. Please subscribe. Please put some comments on it, and please let me know what you would like to see next in this series. Anyway, take care of yourselves, and I see the screens going off, and there's my daughter. Bye-bye, and I'll see you soon.